Hello, welcome to the 700 Club. An explosive weekend over the Mar-a-Lago raid. Former President Trump came out swinging by calling the FBI a threat to democracy. And President Biden pulled no punches. He called Trump supporters semi-fascist.
In the midst of the fray, a federal judge is expected to grant Trump's request for a special master to examine the seized documents. Dale Hurd has the details.
Judge Eileen Cannon has indicated she's inclined to approve the so-called special master at a hearing Thursday. That's a third-party expert to examine the evidence seized by the FBI on August 8th. As intelligence officials review the Trump documents for possible security risks, Republicans want more information on the reason for the raid. They didn't get it from the heavily redacted documents released to the public. Congressman Andy Biggs tweeted to the Justice Department, "This is unacceptable. The American public deserves more transparency." Calling the FBI a threat to democracy, Donald Trump's fundraising team has been hauling in $1 million a day in donations from his supporters.
Within a week of this raid, the Trump online fundraising actually exploded because clearly, even if there weren't nefarious intentions behind it for all of us who are just kind of onlookers or bystanders, it looks very dubious.
Over the weekend, Joe Biden called Trump's supporters a threat to democracy and a semi-fascist movement.
The MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights and economic security. They're a threat to our very democracy. They refuse to accept the will of the people. But we've chosen a different path. Forward, the future, unity, hope, and optimism.
Republican Governor Chris Sununu says Biden should apologize.
Effectively call half of America semi-fascist because he's trying to stir up controversy. He's trying to stir up this anti-Republican sentiment right before the election. It's horribly inappropriate. It's insulting, and people should be insulted by it, and he should apologize.
After months of gloomy predictions of a midterm rout by Republicans, Democrats are more optimistic about the chances of salvaging their majority in the midterm elections with what they see as a backlash to abortion restrictions, opposition to Trump, and Joe Biden rising in the polls. Andrew?
Dale, last week Mitch McConnell came out and said the Democrats are likely to hold the Senate. And now some Democrats say they see a narrow path to holding the House as well. How likely do you think that scenario is?
Yeah, I was surprised by McConnell's comment because it remains a dire political landscape for Democrats. You can cherry pick polls all day long, but the one that counts is the one that says 3/4 of Americans think this nation is on the wrong track. We still have high inflation, high gasoline prices, an energy crisis, and Republicans aren't in charge. You can't blame them. So when people are trying to simply make ends meet, try to figure out a way to feed their family, they're going to make a point to vote, and they're going to vote for change.
All right, Dale, appreciate the report. Thanks for being with us today.
Sure, you bet.
In other news, a win for religious freedom in the battle over transgender medicine. Ephraim Graham has that story for us and more from the CBN Newsroom. Ephraim?
Andrew, a federal appeals court struck down a Biden administration mandate forcing doctors to perform abortions and gender transition treatments. A Catholic Healthcare Alliance had already won a permanent injunction on religious freedom grounds against a 2016 rule requiring them to provide such procedures. The Biden administration attempted to renew the rule, citing a different court decision. Friday, a 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit blocked it. The World Health Organization wants to change the way people view gender, updating an agency manual that bypasses the traditional binary approach with an explanation of gender that goes beyond male and female. CBN's Brody Carter explains.
The United Nations' primary mission is to maintain peace and security. But the agency's health unit has a plan that upsets the traditional understanding of gender, pushing to make gender identity mainstream by, quote, going beyond male and female labels of gender. Critics worry it's a politically motivated agenda that will cause more confusion.
The WHO has already made explicit that their new manual is going to be promoting a non-binary concept of sex and gender, for example.
The WHO's Gender Mainstreaming Manual aims to teach the world about gender roles in relation to health-related behaviors. It's widely used and cited and supports new healthcare policies and laws. And pretty soon, the manual could change the way we talk about sex and gender.
And so, people can cite the WHO and say, well, we're just doing this. It's, follow the science, follow the experts on this.
Rebecca Oss, Director of Research at the Center for Family and Human Rights, says the World Health Organization pioneered making transsexuality mainstream in 2018 when it removed from its list of mental health disorders gender dysmorphia, formerly the mental illness associated with identifying as transgender.
They're really trying to have it both ways. They want to say, first of all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly fine. And we have, we have treatments for you. We can give you surgeries. We can give you hormones, to fix what's not wrong with you.
Updates to the gender mainstreaming agenda include changing key concepts around gender to include power dynamics, privilege, and inequality, normalizing gender identity outside of male and female, and introducing new lessons and team-building exercises to teach healthcare professionals why male and female genders discriminate against transgender people.
This is really an effort to try to really intimidate and streamline a particular way of thinking and talking about this issue.
Nicole Hunt, Life Issues Analyst for Focus on the Family.
Even culturally, we're seeing this pressure. For instance, the Merriam-Webster dictionary, online dictionary, announced that it was changing its definition of female to include anyone who has, quote, a gender identity that is opposite of male. They're trying to change a narrative about family, and it's something that Christians need to be prepared to defend.
Rebecca and Nicole say the gender mainstreaming update is based on political wins, noting the World Health Organization's largest donor is the White House, allocating between $200 and $600 million every year. They warn this update to the manual could have legal consequences.
Then what we're going to see is we're going to start to see more of an acceptance of things that are anti-biblical, and that is going to influence the laws of this land and the way that our Constitution is interpreted.
The updated manual will be released in the coming months. Nicole encourages parents to learn this information when it's presented to the public so you can better defend against it. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Turning now to our economy, all eyes are on the stock market after the Dow Jones plunged more than 1,000 points Friday. That's a 3% drop. This after Fed Chairman Jerome Powell announced the central bank will continue its aggressive strategy to halt inflation. That means more hikes in the interest rate, which Powell warned could mean big pain for the economy, including slower economic growth and a soft labor market. Despite adding an unprecedented 3.8 million jobs in 2021, workforce participation remains low. As Charlene Aaron reports, this worker shortage is creating a unique opportunity for those with a checkered past.
At a time when companies are struggling to fill vacant positions, many have begun to consider sources they may have ignored in the past. Maybe they have considered this statistic. The unemployment rate for people with a criminal record is 27%, compared to the national unemployment rate of just 3.5%. At age 21, Jesse Weiss committed a crime that led to time behind bars.
I spent about 10 years in prison for armed bank robbery. Found myself really trying to find purpose in my life, chasing all the wrong things.
After becoming a Christian and attending Prison Fellowship Academy, Weiss's life dramatically changed. After his release in 2006, Weiss completed law school and today is a practicing attorney. He also works with Prison Fellowship, helping others like himself navigate the often difficult life on the outside.
There are housing barriers, employment barriers, barriers to purchasing a home, lots of different types of barriers, and that doesn't include kind of the social stigma that comes along with having a criminal record.
Devon Kelly of Newport News, Virginia, knows about that stigma. After 3 years in prison on a drug charge, finding work proved frustrating.
The first job I went to was Hardee's, and they denied me because I had a felony. Nobody never interviewed me if you just sent the application in and you checked the box that you was a felon.
Weiss says the ongoing labor shortage created by the pandemic has opened up employment opportunities for those who have served time.
Fifth Third Bank, major corporations coming out and taking and encouraging other corporations to say, take a risk. We are seeing with this labor shortage more opportunities being afforded.
In 2018, Kelly was rehired as a shipfitter at Huntington Ingalls Newport News Shipyard. He now pays it forward by encouraging the company hire others like him, something he saw pay off at a recent hiring event.
And so these guys from the community, they heard about it, they came, and they was offered a job that day. These guys will be the ones that's going to make that company better if you just give them that one shot.
Weiss says the work of removing barriers is far from over.
We need to make sure that now, since they're the ones that are going to show up to work, they're the ones that are going to actually go the extra mile. We need to make sure that that is sustained over time, and that's going to take an additional effort.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
One opportunity can make all the difference. Andrew?
Thank you, Men's Charlene, for bringing us this story. We need to be aware of this. You know, perhaps it's more difficult for a lot of men and women getting out of prison than it was when serving time, with the social stigma Charlene talked about. And as a convicted felon, how do you find employment? But now that there is a need in the workforce, we're going to see a lot of hires occur. And let's pray for those who are being released from prison that they can find a need and fill it. Interesting story, Charlene. Thank you.